deal here. All right, let's see if we get everybody back for one last time here, man. I am so sorry about that. I think I got we'll get it figured out. I think we're going to probably be wrapping somewhat soon here, guys. We're getting into 11:30 my time. What's up, Brian? What is up? Sorry about that, folks at home here. I got to fix this. This is the second live stream I've done, and so I got to kind of figure out what's kind of going on with it. But it's probably a latency thing. Hey, man, I'm here for you guys. I know we gotta commiserate together, man. We're all hurting after this loss, so it feels good to talk about the potential of what is to come, the potential of what this team could be if they make a couple of things, because it helps this hurt. You know, Big Church, 2:30 a.m. hanging in, Big Church. I appreciate that, big man. So Big Chirk, the other trade that I said would be an extreme trade to do, but I asked the chat, I'd be interested to see what you guys think of this. What about this as a trade? You know, with this Chase Young kid, you're getting the next great edge defender in the league. Yes, I do live in Washington. I'm over in Spokane, Spiffy. But you got the best edge rusher in the league, right? Coming into the league in the last few years in this kid, or at least right there with your Bradley Chubbs and the same type of guys that have come in recently. Why not package a ton of picks? And it's going to take it would take 3 first-round picks. No doubt. 3 first-round picks to do it. Would you guys be willing to do it? Would you guys be willing to do 3 first-round picks in order to get a guy like Chase Young to bring in? You're bringing again, now he's at $5.5 million a year on a rookie deal. Very easy to digest that, especially when you're paying Clowney, and you got 2 super dynamic guys now that you're bringing into play. On top of the fact now you don't need Rasheem Green to be that starter. He can be the rotational guy. I really like the thought of doing it, but what do you guys think? Would you be willing to do 3 first-round picks for a guy like Chase Young, who's so dynamic there on that line, who's going to be the number 1 pick, or at least the top 3 pick? But he's a lot like Bosa last year, right? Guy and Bosa, and it's no coincidence they both come from the same college. You knew in Nick Bosa that was a sure thing. You knew that wasn't a risk. You had maybe some injury concerns with the guy, but you knew if he got on the field, he was going to be fantastic. And that's just what I see with Young. So, Carl, you'd be willing to do it? Yeah, I'd be willing to do it too, man. Spiffy, it's been threatening to snow here throughout the day, and it has snowed a couple days ago, but not now, man. It's just calm out there. It's not quite Yeah, Carl, we bought draft on the back end. That's why I'm willing to make that trade up to go do it. You're not going to be picking top 10, top 15 anytime soon, man. It's not going to happen. So that being the case, why not expand it out a little bit? You know, why not go and go outside your comfort zone? They've never traded up in the entire tenure of Schneider and Pete Carroll. Never, not once have they done that. So I would definitely be, I would be open to it myself. You know what I mean? I'd love a 3rd, 4th pick mix of 1st, 2nds, 3rds. Can you expand on that a little bit, Big Chirk, by what you mean on that? This defensive scheme will help players a lot more, Funky Monkey. Absolutely. There was a guy went on, it was KGR 710 this year, Mark Schlereth, the former offensive lineman for the Denver Broncos. And he was talking about how a lot of the 4-3 base that they run does a lot to minimize the pass rush because it's being built to stop the run first and foremost. That's telling defenders before you get into your pass rush, stop the run. And that does hold back the pass rush sometimes. So there may be you may have a point in that, Funky Monkey. I mean, that may be a valid deal. My question for you is, Carl, just that, man. What moves do you guys want to see this offseason? I mean, you guys have heard from me on what I think defensive line, offensive line. What's the consensus out there? I've heard secondary a little bit. You know, is there a big move you guys want to see made that I haven't maybe mentioned that would be more up your alleyway that you'd be hot to trot on? I'd love to hear what you guys got as far as thoughts on that. I think we got to shoot for the moon a little bit, though. I think we got to go for it, you know. And that Percy Harvin thing is, as much as that didn't work out in the overall respect, it did work out for the Super Bowl season. We didn't get him for the whole year, but you know, the times he did come in, he played against the Minnesota Vikings. He came against the Saints in the playoffs. He had an impact when he was in, and I loved them going for it in that moment. They didn't need Percy Harvin, but they were going for it. And I'd love to see them do something similar again. Yeah, center would be a position that I wouldn't mind seeing upgraded. I gotta say, Carl, I'm interested in seeing what Posick can do, though. You've never given him a chance at that position, and it would be interesting to see how he operates in that respect. You know? Yeah, Yannick Ngakoue is going to absolutely be a target of the Hawks. I'd expect them to kick the tires on him 100%, no doubt about it. Well, I don't think you're going to, after you sign Bobby Wagner to the big deal you did, I don't think you're going to sign a new middle linebacker. But the will that KJ Wright plays, I think Cody Barton is going to be your starter next year. I think they've got him designated for that allotment. And I'm not a Balaga guy, Shane. The thing with Balaga is he's got a concussion problem. He's got one of those I think he went on this game maybe even for the concussion, or he's coming into this game with concussion protocol stuff he's going through. And when the guy's had 15 registered concussions, it's like he's one away from it being a career ender at that point, and I don't know they'll get a big amount of money, but I'm more I'll pay more for Conklin, substantially more for Jack Conklin out of the Tennessee Titans if I got to go that route. Just because I think Balaga is a little overrated and I think he's a little injury prone. Yeah, they got cute with the offensive line for years with Cable, man. They tried to do more with less, and Cable, tried to make his peace with it. And the fact is, no, all these offensive linemen aren't coming out able to, run block anyway. They're not complete offensive linemen as it is. So what's the difference? But we've seen the difference. You need talent in that position as too. You can't just be bailed out by your quarterback who's able to make magic by scrambling around. Protect the lines. Yeah, line's huge, man. And Russell's getting knocked around year in, year out. He's going to eventually sustain a huge injury, and it's going to be because of this. Mark my words, if we don't get this fixed. Yeah, poor little Joey, man. He tried his heart out this year, and he's going to have an injury he's been working through as well. I know he's been playing through injuries, and he's not 100%, but at the end of the day, the guy's 5'10" and about 275. I don't know what you expect him to do down there. $70 million to spend, man. You can attack free agency. That's for sure. Not everyone's going to have that amount of space to work with. I like Ben Burkherv in the times I saw him. Unfortunately, I don't think he's going to see the football field unless you've got him at middle linebacker. They seem to kind of want him in that role, it sounds like, when Pete was asked about that. And Bobby doesn't seem to be going down anytime soon. He's a little undersized, so you worry about having him at the Will or Sam linebacker position, because if he's got to take on a tight end and get up on the line of scrimmage at that point, he could get swallowed up kind of easily in the running game. But he got 4.5 speed. I always thought it would have been interesting to work him in coverage. Seattle, in a lot of ways, doesn't do a lot of that, rotational stuff. The same guys stay on the field in and out. They'll do it with the defensive line, but a guy like Burke Irvin, you wondered with that 4.5 speed safety convert, maybe you could get him in at linebacker in coverage and he could do some things for you, but they didn't even try it at any point in time. They liked Kendricks, I guess, and Wright, so they didn't move off of it. Yeah, Jack Conklin's big, physical, and he's just what I think he'd be a perfect fit for us and what we want to do. He'd be very good. Homer, I think, is going to continue to develop. Don't forget, he was a really young guy coming out, 20 years old, just turning 21. I like the guy in that respect. I think he's going to continue to develop well. I don't know if he's going to be awesome, but he's a guy that just on a rookie deal can give you some good carries, and I think he's got some juice to him. He's going to get bigger, I think, a little stronger, a little faster, I bet, going through his first off season. So I think he's got a place on this team. But yeah, he's probably third or fourth string. He's probably third string right now as we're walking into it. I like Everson Griffin. I like him a lot. And that's where with Rasheem Green, that's who I think you can compare the two guys out to. I think Rasheem Green is on the exact same career trajectory as Everson Griffin. And I think that's a great thing. I think you could be with a guy who's going to have 10 sacks a year and play great run-stopping football for you. He'll be a complete football player for you at that defensive end position. Will he be a perennial Pro Bowler, an all-pro? No, probably not. But if you're mixing him in with other talent, you can be, if you got a line of guys, 4 guys getting 10 sacks, you're pretty damn good at that point. So I like him moving forward. Everson Griffin, though, to bring him in as a free agent, yeah, I absolutely like that. If you can get him on a low-end deal He's not going to break the bank to bring him in. He played great this year for the Vikings. He was very solid for them. Yeah, I'm sure Tennessee's not going to probably trade away that much of their offensive line, Big Shirk. They, especially with as good as their running game has been for them and as vital as it's been for them to get to where they've gotten in this postseason. But I certainly think Jack Conklin's a free agent, so you could probably, it's a matter of just paying him the most at that point. It was a bad matchup, man. Amadi on Adams was not a good look, and it was disappointing. That was the Packers, though, doing a good job of attacking the scheme and knowing that we don't move our guys around and that you're not going to get Griffin in the slot with Adams. You're going to get Ugo Amadi. And the thing I don't necessarily like is Ugo on that slot, but at that point, what I want is the safety over the top, being Lano Hill, to be there in the protected position if anything goes deep over the top of Ugo, especially with Ugo playing press coverage off the snap there. But Lano, as he always is, was 3 or 4 steps late to the play, and it made it an easy completion. At least that's what I saw from it. Yeah, edge rushers, Al Woods, you could probably get back on a cheap deal. I loved what I saw out of him this year. He was a very solid player for us. It was a shame. I feel like our run defense went in the hole the second we lost him to suspension. That was just too much for us to lose. I think the Chiefs have Chris Jones locked up. But Brandon Scherff is solid, man. That's right in long with the Quentin Jefferson type signing. I'd be happy to bring, Brandon Scherff in. I think he's a very good player as well. So I like both of your suggestions, Shane. Both of those guys Chris Jones is a monster inside. He'd be great to pair up with Jaron Reed. You can move him all over that defensive line and really attack. Yeah, I think Homer's a young kid who's learning the game still. Again, 20 years old coming out of college. He was an underclassman. He's going to be developing. He's a young kid. There's still a little bit there he's got to come along with. But I like him. I think he's got some juice. He's a physical, good runner. Yep, and some of that may come along, Big Shirt. Some of that vision and some of that comes along with the seasoning. Yeah, Roger seemed to hurt his calf. I know he's torn that in the past, but he seemed to kind of come up gimpy on the calf at the end of the game. He played through it. So, yeah, I never thought LJ Collier was Michael Bennett. That was what everyone was trying to do by turning their head sideways and squinting their eyes and looking through a window and it's like the same thing. No, not the same player. And again, really, it's hard to justify that LJ Collier pick in any way, shape, or form. I did my one live draft deal I did before this was during the draft. The first round of the draft, I did it. And you'll watch, I absolutely hate the LJ Collier pick and I tear it apart 10 ways from Sunday. It was an awful pick then. It's an awful pick now, man. It's horrible. It's absolutely horrible. Russell's always run back 10 yards every play. He runs back. Usually, I think if the offensive line's not giving him lanes, he can't see over the top of the offensive line. So it's the only way at that point to then get a little bit of space to see down the football field. A better offensive line play, creating not only holes in the running game, but also creating lanes in the passing game, which every single quarterback, it doesn't matter if you're 5'10", needs. Yeah, all offensive line has become a really tough position to look at and say this guy's going to be good coming from the college level, or this guy's been a good offensive lineman over here, but then he'll be good over here. I think it is a little easier if you've got a guy that's a good offensive lineman in one place to know he'll be good in another place if he's in his prime and he's developing like that. That's why I want to go for more of the sure thing rather than trying to draft the offensive lineman, even trading up in the first round to get an offensive lineman in, let's say, the top 10. I'd rather go get a certain offensive lineman out there in the league right now entering into his prime, like a Quentin Nelson, just for these reasons. It's just hard to guess on these guys. It's hard to know for sure what you're getting. Hey, what's up, guys? Gaming. Thanks for jumping in. Yeah, Quinn Jefferson's a little Michael Bennett, but there's not the consistency in pass rush. And Michael Bennett the thing about Michael Bennett, he was your guy that Chris Sims calls him, he fucks up the play guy. And for 3 years, Chris Sims, who's a great analyst over there at NBC, said this Michael Bennett during that run of the LOB was the best player in the league at the fuck the play up play guy. That doesn't mean he makes the play or he has a huge amount of tackles or he's putting up the 20 sacks. It just means he's destroying the play. The design of the play is getting killed by this guy. And that's what Bennett did when he was at his best. And I don't see that in Quentin Jefferson. Jefferson's more of the every once in a while, he'll come in there and give you a little surprise. He'll give you a little pass rush there. Oh, he made you a stop. He's not that good in the run game. I'll say that either. So I don't know that it's a little bit, maybe a little bit. Yeah, the LJ Collier thing just didn't make sense. There were so many defensive linemen taken in that first round ahead of him that they didn't think that was a reach in how they were doing that. And again, it was a reach. We know we pretty much know with certainty they wanted Montez Sweat, and he just got picked in front of him and they panicked. Yeah, Joey Hunt was in, and he's got some other things too that I know were some injuries that he was dealing with. So it wasn't just that. I think he had a couple of things he's been dealing with as well. So Joey did his best out there, man. It was what it was out there with him. Yeah. Well, and I think somebody mentioned after the draft, and I think it still is true to this day. If somebody had told you that the Seahawks drafted DK Metcalf with the first pick and then Marquise Blair and then drafted LJ in the third round, would you still feel, and no, you wouldn't if all that was flipped around in reverse. So all things being equal, whatever. But if you had gone after an offensive lineman, if you'd taken the third best offensive lineman on the board at that point, would you have gotten better production this year? Would you have gotten some production at least this year? Yeah, you would have, Russell did have a lot of time to throw in this game. And early in that game, there were times he did have time to sit back there and set up and look around, and there just wasn't anybody open. I think there were times Seattle was going into max protect and only sending out a few players out there for receivers because they were trying to give Russell that time. So I think that was some of it. You saw the Packers not willing to blitz and trying to drop as many as they could in coverage for a long period of the game. It seemed like they went that route with it. Offensive guard in middle school, what should I train on? If I was an offensive guard in middle school right now, what I would be training on is I would refine my run blocking technique. You are going to be doing a bunch of pass protection probably. Even now in the high school game, I would garner to bet. And so it's what's going to separate you from other offensive linemen, if you can find something to separate you, is if you're a good run blocker, that's going to stand out when there's not a lot of good run blockers out there. Be physical, be nasty. That's the thing that you don't see in offensive linemen anymore, that when you do see it, it jumps off the screen. I think the number one trade target that the Hawks are going to go after, and if this would be one of my predictions, I'll make it right now. I think they will go after Calais Campbell this offseason. I think Johnston.